Hey everybody, happy Tuesday night. We're going to do something different tonight than we normally do. We never talk about spoilers, and we always note below, like, don't talk about spoilers in our videos. But today, we're going to do one big spoiler video and predictions for two things. Because I think this Sunday, we've got a fantastic night of television ahead of us. Of course, we'll be at Mango's enjoying our dinner and show. But we'll be home after that and catching up to see Wrestlemania and the Walking Dead season finale. So let's talk about those things. Alright, so let's talk about The Walking Dead first. Walking Dead Season 6, absolutely amazing so far this year. We have been riveted every week, and this is coming after a couple of years. I think the product was a little watered down, maybe not firing on all cylinders. This year, just absolutely amazing. The first half of the season took place primarily almost like in a single day type of period. The second half of the year, we've gotten some new relationships with Rick and Michonne. There's been characters that have died. A lot of people have died this year. And the town Alexandria, it's in like complete upheaval at this point. I think we left off last week in Rick kind of tipping his hat and making it seem like they're invincible. The world is at their taking, is basically what he had said to Michonne at that point. Which kind of shows the arrogance that I think the showmakers really want you to believe at this point. Like they could overcome anything and they have no idea what's about to hit them. Fans that have read the comics, I think this year has been more rewarding than any other year to date because it's been somewhat in line with the comic a little bit more than prior years. And if you have read the comic, I think even for folks that haven't read it, they know, or everyone knows at this point, that something huge is about to happen. And just to get everybody on the same page, in case you haven't read the comics and you have no idea what I'm talking about, this is the end of the line for Glenn, at least in the comics. Negan is about to come to fruition in the TV show. We know that he's in the last episode. He is the big bad boogeyman that takes over for the governor's type of role, except I think that in the comics he's kind of like the governor times 10. And we've seen this throughout the season with the rest of the bad guys that are kind of, laying their way into the storyline here. And Rick and the gang are kind of going up against. So we had a couple of things at the end of last episode, just this past Sunday, that really opened up a lot of questions for us here. First is Daryl alive? So Daryl Dixon, at the end of our show on Sunday, we see him get shot. We know that the words are whispered to him like, you'll be all right. Quite honestly, it looks like he was probably shot in the shoulder. I would think that he would survive something like that, but I think it was enough to disable him at that point. I think, kind of the big rumors that are around at this point is, who exactly is going to die coming this Sunday? Did Daryl die because of that gunshot? Is Glenn going to die like he does in the comic? It could be anything up to, is Rick going to potentially die? So we know that Andrew Lincoln has, it's kind of leaked out there in the press that he may not necessarily want to be part of the show all that much more longer. Because I think it's a little taxing on him to have to shoot in Georgia, in the U.S., while his family's living overseas. And that's kind of been like the rumor that's out there, but I think it's got a little bit of credence. I think the show could go on without Rick, but it's kind of really weird to think that the show would kill Rick off, at least this season. So I don't see Rick leaving on Sunday. I think if we did, it would be a major shocker. Going along with the comics again, Glenn, will he die this week? If I had to put odds on it, I'd say it's probably like a 50-50 shot. But I know that Scott Gimple and the folks involved with The Walking Dead have made it clear in trying to remind us that the show doesn't follow the same parallel as the comic, because if they did, there would be no surprises for folks. And we know that things have changed in prior years. We know that, in the comics at least, once upon a time, there was kind of like that little relationship with Michonne and Tyrese before the governor, and during that whole story arc. And then Tyrese was the one that died with his being decapitated at the prison instead of Herschel, and that stuff was changed around as well for TV. So there's been a lot of things that have changed, especially like Andrea's lifespan and all of that good stuff. So we left last episode Maggie having terrible chest pains or delivery type pains. The good guys stuck in the forest with surrounded by Negan's crew, and Rick heading back to Alexandria. Where does that leave us for this season? We have 90 minutes to go on Sunday. This is what my thoughts are. On Twitter on Sunday night, I posted this spoiler or thing that I thought reminded me of kind of Aliens with the chest burster coming out. For as sick as it sounds, I think that there's two possibilities with Maggie at this point. My stronger, where I'm leaning towards, is that she may potentially have had a miscarriage. And that miscarriage means that the baby is dead. If you remember back, even all the way back to season 1, they know at that point that everybody is infected already with this virus. And that's why, or this sickness. And that's why when they're dead, they turn. If the baby died as a result of a miscarriage, because she has been through an awful lot this season so far, so it would be kind of extraordinary if this baby was able to survive through everything. But if she did die, if the baby did die through a miscarriage, you can imagine the shock and awe that we'll see on Sunday. Should the baby be a zombie and potentially maybe eating her way or his way out of the womb, for as disgusting as that sounds, that's where my thought is leaning at this point. The other piece that I think is probably less probability, Enid may have poisoned her. She was the one that was kind of forcing Maggie to go back to the house, eat the pickles, and potentially may have poisoned her that way. We don't know necessarily where Enid's loyalties lie. We know that she was part of the Wolves, etc. So those are two things that I think could happen, but I'd be leaning more towards the first, with maybe the curveball being thrown in there that this is the last episode for Maggie. Because of course if she gets bitten by whatever may be inside of her, she would be infected as well. So my thought about that. Who does Negan kill? Is it Glenn? Is it Daryl? Is it somebody else? I think that we're going to see multiple people killed here. I don't think that it's Daryl's time yet. I think that Daryl lives on to see another day. But I think that, we potentially do see the end of Glenn. So we have the Glenn and the Maggie storylines kind of end here at the, this episode. But I also think, we may see some of the other kind of what I consider like maybe B+ type folks that are along for the ride there also dying. I think Rosita may have seen the last of her days on this side of the living as well. So I would probably put my money towards Maggie, Glenn, Rosita, and I'm sure that we're going to see something cliffhanger-wise towards the end of the episode with potentially maybe Rick being involved and not knowing whether he actually will make it through or not. And remember, Morgan is kind of out on his own at this point. I think I would look towards Morgan to come back and try to be a little bit more of a savior in this spot. So you never know, he could end up dying as well, trying to defend the rest of the clan that he's now off on his own about. And of course my thoughts are just based off of being my thoughts and folks that I think may have outlived their usefulness on the show itself. I think Daryl still has too much fan base and brings too many people to the show for them to actually do him in, although as much as they've said that he is a possibility at any given time, as is anybody else, I just don't see him getting the axe at this point, literally or figuratively. Nor do I see Rick in that position as well. Michonne, I might put like a 30% chance on. You never know. But I think that she's another fan favorite as well, so I'd see her continuing at least another year. So those are thoughts on The Walking Dead. What are your thoughts on The Walking Dead? If you think differently about other folks that will die, leave a comment below and let me know what you think. And we'll compare notes come next week. Probably not on Monday, because we don't want to spoil everything for everybody else again that hasn't been able to watch the show on Sunday. And I will say that's one of my biggest pet peeves with AMC, is that they basically live tweet during the show and tell folks what's happened. And that's not cool, because I know there's a lot of folks that can't get to watch the show immediately when it's on. So onward, let's talk about WrestleMania a little bit. First, I have to have a little bit of a drink in my favorite Tervis here. People thought that I was like trolling them last year when I said I wanted The Walking Dead to come back to Halloween Horror Nights, but not the case. I would love to see it come back again this year. So WrestleMania is upon us. As you guys, if you've watched the channel for a while, you know that we went to the Royal Rumble. It was in Orlando in January. WrestleMania comes back to Orlando in 2017. Tickets for that should go on sale like October, November time period. This is the 32nd WrestleMania, to make anyone feel old that has been able to watch all of them. You know, I'll raise my hand myself. I think, you know, the WWE has shied away from giving numbers to their WrestleMania. So you notice the last couple of years they just call it WrestleMania. And they used to call it the granddaddy of all sports entertainment, and they no longer call it that either, because they don't want the product to feel old and stale. However, with the lack of talent that the WWE has on their roster at this point, and lack of competition, I really think, you know, obviously not necessarily a spoiler here, but I see this as being probably the worst WrestleMania in many, many years. Probably the worst since WrestleMania 9 at this point. And for those that don't remember, WrestleMania 9 was the really, really god-awful event that everyone dressed up as togas, or in togas for that event. Absolutely horrible. Probably the one that folks want to forget the most, the one that the WWE wants you to forget about the most. But let's talk about WrestleMania 32, or just WrestleMania. So the card, let's talk about it. It's probably as bad as what you would imagine an average night of Raw should be, if not SmackDown, or you know, a worse show. And I will give at least some leniency to the fact that a lot of stars on the roster are out of action at this point. But that being said, the WWE has so much depth on their talent roster that it's tough to think that they can't come up with you know, an amazing super card every time. So let's start from the top, or start from the bottom. The Usos versus the Dudley Boyz. I can't see how the Dudley Boyz don't win in this situation. However, that said, let's talk about crazy booking for the WWE. The Usos have fought basically everybody. The Dudley Boyz are facing everybody lately. Mostly the same people over and over again. A lot of the same type of garbage matches and throwaway things and filler, you know, with both teams kind of jobbing to whoever they're facing. So who do I see at this point? I think the Dudley Boyz get more of a pop than the Usos. I'd say the Dudley Boyz go over here and they get the victory. We have this Intercontinental match that has basically every mid-carder going today in it that's worthwhile seeing. And that being said, it's Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Dolph Ziggler, Zack Ryder, Sin Cara, The Miz, Stardust. And out of that, you figured that there's two people that have interest going in them right now, which is Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I think folks are looking at, you know, this is going to be a continuation of their feud from NXT. They're both exceptional workers, and they should be featured probably in a singles match, but we've thrown in this other extra stuff so that, you know, it gets folks to pop a little bit more during the event. I don't see anybody legitimately standing a chance in this match outside of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And that being said, I see Kevin Owens going over and getting the win, keeping his title, and setting up maybe a one-on-one match series with Sami Zayn going for a while. So I see Kevin Owens keep the belt, keep the title, fighting Sami Zayn next pay-per-view one-on-one. Next match, we've got Adam Rose versus Curt Axel versus Heath Slater and Bo Dallas and Kane and the Big Show and Tyler Breeze in this Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, right? So Battle Royals are always that type of thing, at least even since I was a kid. Like, the bigger you are, the more chance you have of winning. I mean, let's be realistic. Like, the little guy, you know, it's one of those things like, oh, could he potentially win and knock the big guy out? I don't see it happening. I see the Big Show winning again. You know, Big Show most resembles Andre the Giant. You know, go back to WCW days, he just called himself the Giant, which was kind of a play on Andre the Giant to begin with. So Big Show, I've gotten that bracket. We've got another throwaway match, Kalisto versus Ryback. I don't know why this is even on a WrestleMania pay-per-view. I couldn't see this at the very best a Raw show. It's really mind-blowing that this would be a featured match. So Kalisto, United States champion against Ryback. I think that they're pushing Ryback pretty big at this point. As long as he keeps his mouth shut and doesn't talk to media. I see Ryback getting the win here and being your new United States champion. We got New Day versus League of Nations. I see at this point New Day couldn't possibly lose. They're more over than anybody else on the roster, and that says a lot. I don't think there's a lot to that gimmick other than folks wanting something to repeat and kind of feel like they're a part of. But I do think that they can work pretty well. I think the League of Nations works pretty well. But I see New Day going over. You know, they're kind of like heel fan favorites. You know, and it's kind of weird because they're tweeners. League of Nations, they're bad guys also. So, you know, again, crazy booking. Charlotte versus Sasha Banks versus Becky Lynch. As someone that lives in Orlando and has gone to NXT for a long time, these are matches that we've seen over and over and over again. So it's a little played out, and it's been on TV for months between the three of them. I think Charlotte has been a great champion. She could be so much better if they separated her from Ric Flair and kind of, you know, had her stand up on her own. But having said that, I think Becky Lynch is a fan favorite. I'd see, you know, either come down between between Charlotte and Becky Lynch. I see Charlotte retaining her title once again. And I think that will stay that way until Bayley can get into the company on the main roster. And then we'll have some more either Fatal 4-Way type things or one-on-one where Bayley potentially could carry the women's division. Chris Jericho and AJ Styles. Enough is enough. We've seen these guys over and over again. There's so much talent out there on the roster that I think folks want to see AJ Styles match up against. I think Chris Jericho is getting rewarded because he's a company guy and they're keeping him relevant by having him in these matches with AJ Styles. You know, I see AJ going over Chris Jericho at this point and, you know, getting that win that he needs to continue to propel himself in the main roster here. Brie Bella, Natalya, Alicia Fox, and Paige versus Lana and Team Bad, and to be announced. So it's the Total Divas versus Team Bad, and you know, one more match where we you know, Battle Royal or I'm sorry, massive tag match, whatever it is, with way too many people and way too much overbooking. I see the good guys going over here. It's WrestleMania. You know, if the good guys win here, then, you know, of course you have the belt stay on Charlotte for the other match for the women. Ambrose versus Lesnar. Very much see Dean Ambrose taking it to town. You know, taking Brock Lesnar to town here with whatever weapons and types of things that he can try to employ. But let's be realistic. Brock Lesnar is a monster. I think anybody in their right mind would be afraid of this guy in real life. He is. There's nobody on the roster that can even remotely stack up to him, size-wise or ability-wise. if Brock Lesnar was to lose, I think that, you know, they lose a lot of credibility. Because it's just absolutely ridiculous. A couple of years ago when CM Punk fought Brock Lesnar, I thought it was absolutely ridiculous. You know, I'm all for the David and Goliath type matches. I mean, you want to root for the smaller guy to win, but I see Brock Lesnar going over here. There's no way that Ambrose can beat him. Shane McMahon versus The Undertaker. I think that WWE always inadvertently tips their hand in these types of things, where they've booked follow-up shows beyond WrestleMania, where they've branded it as like kind of like WWE Raw, you know, or versus the WWE or whatever. So you know, you see this potential brand split coming up. I think everyone knows it's due to happen. It's just a question of how it's going to happen. You know, I could hit the pause button here for a second and say this is another absolutely ridiculous match. Shane McMahon is a guy who is my age, has no business being in a ring, especially against The Undertaker, when, you know, folks for years have said that, you know, The Undertaker match was just as important as the title match at any of these WrestleManias, and now we've kind of watered it down to a point where we have, you know, the guy on the street who takes crazy chances against The Undertaker. And, you know, just absolutely, again, mind-blowing that we're in this situation. Realistically, no way that Shane McMahon should be able to win this thing. You know, but that said, Raw Monday night, couldn't help but watching like The Undertaker's gut, almost as big as mine, sucking air. Shane McMahon being in the ring for 4 minutes, he's sucking air. You know, it's a question of who's going to need an oxygen tank first. What I do see happening here, Shane McMahon gets the win, but I think it's by way of John Cena coming back. This is going to be another screw job type match where it's going to be tremendously overbooked, way too many people running in and getting involved with different things, but ultimately Shane is the victor, and I look for John Cena to at least make an appearance here and cause something to happen that Shane McMahon gets the victory. The last match, Triple H versus Roman Reigns. This is an angle that I think has gone, again, just like Shane McMahon, not in the direction that the WWE is hoping. I think the product is so bad that folks are kind of cheering for this authority that has been played out for way too many years, with the evil corporation against the folks that are working there or the other talent. People want Triple H to win. They hate Roman Reigns. In all fairness, Roman Reigns is a great worker. I think that they've tried to package him into a gimmick guy, just like John Cena is, and try to be this fan favorite for little kids. I think when Bayley comes up to the main roster for the women's side, you know, at least that takes the pressure off of the WWE to have that superhero type of person or really kid-facing wrestler. But you know, this is a match that no one's going to win here fan-wise, because there's going to be complaints one way or the other. It was always the WWE's intent that Roman Reigns leaves here as the champion. You know, whether it was prior to Seth Rollins getting hurt or not, the goal was Reigns to be champion. It has been for a couple of years. I think that he could be the face of the company if they gave him a shot. People gave him a shot instead of booing him all the time. However, you know, they don't do anything with him to make him even more likable. You know, as they started to make him more likable with like these you know, insurmountable odds against him, where he finally won the title, then we take it away from him, you know, in the blink of an eye and give it back to Triple H, which was incredibly stupid. I honestly don't know what's going on here. But I see Roman Reigns winning. I think this is another crazy overbooked match. Somehow The Rock works his way into the match. At one point, I you know, in January before the Royal Rumble happened, I would have told you, you know, every day of the week and twice on Sunday that The Rock was going to end up facing Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, except I think his filming schedule had something else to say about that. So The Rock has something to do here. Not quite sure what it is, but I think at the end of it all, we're going to see the return of Seth Rollins at some point during this match to try to interfere. We're going to see Dean Ambrose getting involved somewhere here, and we're going to see kind of, everything coming together. It's going to be one more thing that, Twitter is going to be absolutely nuts on Sunday night, whether it's the Walking Dead stuff or it's the end of WrestleMania, where people are going to be complaining about stuff and shock and awe. So if you're a social media person, stay off of Facebook and Twitter on Sunday. But Roman Reigns wins. It sets it up for the next pay-per-view. I see a triple threat coming with Seth, Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns, all of the Shield guys leading the top of the card for the next pay-per-view, and going over the title at that point. So those are my thoughts. What do you guys think? As far as pick your winners, let me know below. Who do you think is going to win? But on that note, hope you enjoyed the spoiler or prediction or my thoughts on things type of video. Just figured I'd throw it out there and try this out for once. If you guys like it, we'll do more of these things in the future for other things. But on that note, we're going to sign off for now. So thank you for all of your likes. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your subscriptions. Treat others the way you want to be treated. Have a great night. We'll see you guys.